Welcome back, everyone. It's Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
Whoa, Case. Whoa. First off, I'm just going to talk about, I'll just kind of give a summary of what we're doing to do for sure. For the top is we're going to talk back about Chapter 14 of The Mandalorian a little bit. We had a big reveal in there, but then also we had talked about earlier in the week whether or not we should hold off recording, and I'm actually glad we did. Really glad, because a couple hours ago, huge announcements from Lucasfilm, from all of Disney, but Lucasfilm specifically for our show, obviously.
I just want to say
stuff.
Happy birthday. It took a lot to give you this gift of all this information. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Yes. In fact, that it's funny that you say that, because I was going to bring it up that it is my birthday. Yeah. And what an incredible day it has been.
It's like 10 birthday gifts.
Yes. And it's funny because I posted, that was my birthday, and of course, it's all the friends on Facebook and everything are saying stuff. But someone, one of our listeners and fans in the group, Mark Davis, he posted in our group saying, "Oh my God, I'm losing my blank right now." Posted on, he said, what was the first comment he said, which I really appreciate? He says, "I think Disney sensed the birthday of David Cottingham and showered us ITF fans and followers with gifts."
Yeah.
Absolutely true. Really. And look, I do want to mention, Case. I do want to talk a little bit about it, because I do want to say, look, I do not take this for granted whatsoever. I think both of us, I think I speak for you as well, that we feel very fortunate and blessed that we've had the job that we've had this year, despite what's been happening with pandemic and people losing jobs and even losing lives. Totally don't want to speak above any of that, because I do think about that a lot. But I gotta say, this past week has been incredible for the company that we work for. We work for a company called Wrigley Media Group, and we do a lot of. All of our job is doing video production, and we do video production for a ton of clients around the country. And I've been there 20 years. You've been there now how long? 4 or 5 years now?
About 5 years now, yeah.
About 5 years now. So it's great that, look, I love doing the show with you. We're family, but I love working with you as well. And I want to say that this day, my birthday today, it's funny because it really has turned a bad year really good. You know what I mean? And again, I just want to briefly say this past week, our company, Wrigley Media Group, we've had 2 shows debut on HGTV this past weekend. Chateau and Escape to the Chateau and You Live in What International. 2 years ago, or about a year and a half ago, we helped film some scenes in Kentucky for a Drew Barrymore film called The Stand-In. It actually comes out December 11th, tomorrow, on digital and on demand. We had a premiere tonight. That's what I was doing when all this news was dropping. So I was trying to read it as I was watching the movie. And then, of course, then all this stuff happens today and look, with all this announcement, there's no way there's going to be a bad episode tomorrow on The Mandalorian, right?
Well, probably not. No.
So
probably not.
I just want to say I feel extremely lucky, and we're going to have a great show right now because there's so much to talk about. I feel like we've been waiting for this day ever since we knew Celebration was canceled, because I feel like we've already got some of that. I don't think near as much as this, but we have got some of that during Celebration. So, so thanks, Case Cooley, for joining me on this birthday of mine. I'm wearing one of my gifts, actually, from my wife and my daughters. Really love this shirt. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast, sorry, you'd have to watch the YouTube video to see what I'm talking about. But a friend of mine, our friend Anthony, a guy I work with, I do want to say, got me this shirt as well. It's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Naps and snacks.
Yeah.
Grogu. Yeah. So I'll probably wear that tomorrow. All right. So first up, before we get into all the news that's coming from Star Wars, the future of Star Wars, we've got to talk about Chapter 14.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a little bit of old news now because it's a week old, but look, bottom line, big reveal. Case, your overall impression, what do you think when you watched it?
I mean, safe to say, I did not expect. I was hoping Boba Fett would show up. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting a whole episode kind of revolving around Boba in this way, and especially so close to. I feel like the story definitely went forward fast, where I didn't expect them to go ahead and be at the temple and on the Seeing Rock this soon. I thought they were going to kind of hold that off for a little longer. So that was a surprise. I was excited. And then Boba, as soon as Slave One flew in, I was like, wow, that's very cool. Like we're getting so much so fast, and that feels like, which is great. And that's everything I've heard about these last episodes, is that it's all a roller coaster, and this definitely started that. It was a great episode. Fun. Jeez, it's it has been a crazy week, and it's a understatement, I guess you could say, if that's the right phrase, is that Boba Fett is back. I mean, it's just, we've been waiting for this since almost the entire of new canon. So since like Aftermath, like we've been waiting for this from the little tease, and obviously we knew he was back from earlier this season, but now he's back in action, so very exciting. And Tamara Morrison is still amazing. He looks good in the armor. I guess I'm about to say he still looks good. I mean, although this is the first time he's worn Boba Fett armor, but
that's right.
He still looks good.
It is the same armor, which I think we should talk about here in a little bit. But.
Yeah, so it was great, and the whole Fennec Shand stuff too is pretty cool. But I mean, we'll go into details about the rest of the episode, but yeah, overall, really awesome.
Yeah, I obviously I talked at it in length on the Mandalore podcast, but I think I was thrilled and jaw-droppingly surprised when I saw Slave One. I mean, I did not expect to ever see that. And as soon as you saw it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's Boba Fett. I mean, there's no one else that could have came out of that ship besides Boba Fett, right? I think that, I was on the fence that they weren't going to bring him back. Not in this series anyway. I thought it was going to be his own series. And that's, glaringly missing from this announcement today.
Sure.
So it's safe to say maybe that he sticks around in this series. I mean, he's sticking around until the child's returned, right? Until Grogu's safe.
Yeah, he's definitely got a new agenda to stick around.
But I'm with you. I didn't think they would get there this fast, and I'm telling you, with that last shot, that last shot on Grogu, it completely felt like a season finale. Like,
it's true. Yeah.
That's something you leave the whole season. People are like, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
But, we've got still two episodes left this season. So I can't imagine how they're going to leave us hanging after this, and maybe they won't. Maybe is some kind of conclusion to this season going into next season, similar to what it was last season. I mean, it was kind of an ending still. But yeah, it was great to see multiple characters. We got Cara Dune still in this. We went to Navarro. Saw Gideon, he showed up obviously with the Dark Troopers. Now, talk about that a little bit, because I know you're a big EU person. Not big, but I mean, you dabbled more in the EU than I did. I was never really aware of the Dark Troopers. The only experience I have with the Dark Troopers actually is with the card game, because there were cards of the Dark Troopers, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So I've done my research a little bit, but did you, I can't remember, did you think that those were Dark Troopers when we first saw that room full of those?
When I first saw them, no, but reading on forums and stuff, that was kind of one of the thoughts, that it was Dark Troopers, and hearing that definitely made sense. No, I would think, to me, there's like different tiers of like deep references of the EU. Like Mara Jade being a very common reference, and Dark Troopers maybe a level below, because they're not, at least in my experience, I could be totally wrong, but I feel like I remember them vaguely from Dark Forces, like some of the older stuff. But I didn't know a whole lot about them, because frankly, I don't think there was much there. I think they were normally treated as filler type of things, and very rare stories or games or what have you. So this was great. I mean, it's just more classic Filoni. I mean, to pull these little nuggets, and that's been the whole thing with this episode is, look, with the Boba Fett, whether or not he'll show up, it's just, I don't know why I was ever doubting Filoni's ability to pull through and to not be a tease and to give us good fan service while also giving us good stories. So, like, why wouldn't I ever think that he would bring Boba this season? We made the connection of, is it going to be another Darth Maul thing in Solo? It's like, well, maybe if it was anybody else treating this season, then I would say yes. But otherwise, like, no, like, after this episode, I'm just like, there's no telling. There's no telling what's going to happen. I mean, I think there's everything's on the table. Filoni will pull from whatever source he wants. I think at this point, I think it's proven that he's been given some pretty free reign to pull from different areas of EU and canon. So, Dark Troopers, or even something more impactful from EU, I could see him pulling into this show.
Yeah,
it's very exciting to think about.
Yeah, it is. So there's two main things I need to get your opinion on, I think. Is one is, we heard in, I think it was a couple episodes ago, when they were talking about, when we first found out about the lab, right, on Navarro, and we saw that Gideon was talking about, or I'm sorry, Dr. Pershing was talking about the donor and the volunteer. And, I made the mistake, I feel like, that I was connecting Grogu's blood with the Dark Trooper project, which I've come to realize, I'm pretty sure that those are separate storylines. Because the Dark Troopers never were infused, or they're not blood. They're not blood. They're all droids, right? I think the Phase 3 versions were exoskeletons. At some point, they could be worn, but this version, which is, I think, is more about the Phase 1 Dark Troopers, were just droids. Now, the blood, I think, is used for something else, and apparently for a volunteer. Now, do you have any thoughts or opinions who that volunteer is, or what they're actually doing with the blood?
Right. Jeez. I can't remember if we talked too much about it on the show or just off conversation, but I know, like, Gideon has been brought up as a candidate, which that makes sense that he would be a candidate to get some midichlorians, dare I say the full word, midichlorians, to try that experiment. Although it's, I have to say that I don't, from what we know from old EU, it's like that doesn't necessarily work, but obviously they can do whatever they want with this new. That's not how the Force works, I guess, as Han Solo would say. You can't just inject and boom, you got the Force. So, but we'll see how they treat it in the new canon. But Gideon would be obviously a top choice, but maybe he's got some genetically engineered super soldier lying in wait that that he'll juice up, some kind of super shredder to like juice up and become a uber force user or something. I don't know. I mean, I have to think that it's someone that we've already seen or someone that fans would recognize from canon or even EU old legends, but seems likely it might be someone we've already seen in the show.
So you don't think this is any connection to the whole First Order thing and possibly Snoke?
I think there could be a connection to First Order. I don't think Snoke. I don't know. People, I don't know if the fans are really warm up to the idea of Snoke. I don't know, or anything too connected like that to the sequel trilogy. So if it's anything, I mean, I can just see them simply trying to make an army of Force users, or a small, like a small army of Force users that could lead to something First Order related. I mean, I can't remember. Was it intended that the Sith troopers were Force sensitive? I know they really weren't, but
I don't think they were. I think there was some discussions on that.
I can't remember if there was like a encyclopedia that mentioned that was the attempt, but anyways, I don't think that have gotten that strong connection to the First Order yet. I do think that's happening. So whether it's this or whether it's something else, I think that is coming at some point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm still possibly on the fence because here's where I am with Bo-Katan showing up, with Ahsoka showing up, with Boba Fett showing up, and Boba Fett I feel like is a huge door that got opened for Filoni because, as everybody knows, and especially if they listen to us, him and Favreau's original pitch was Boba Fett. And they said, no, you can't do Boba Fett. You can't do IG-88. So they made IG-11 and they made The Mandalorian, right? So the fact that they, as in Kennedy, let them have that character now and injected in the show. Now, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, that makes sense. It's all Filoni. That's from Filoni's animated series. But when you bring in an entity that was a property of the beginning of this whole story, Star Wars, to me, that says a lot. That's saying, you know what? You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And we're behind you. Because look at the success and look what it's paving. Look the road it's paving with what we're going to talk about here soon.
Yeah.
So if he decided to make a connection to the sequel trilogy, I think they're allowed to do that now.
No, I think they'd be allowed to. I just my thought was that I'm not sure if they're wanting to just yet because of the divisiveness of the sequel trilogy. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe they've made a decision or not, whether or not that would be a wise thing to do. But no, definitely, I think Disney is pretty comfortable or secure in the fact that and Lucasfilm, I guess, also for that matter, that Disney Plus is going to be kind of the next. Is going to be the future of Star Wars. I mean, clearly. So I think that they are, like you said, not going to withhold who they show on a Disney Plus. Basically not reserve the big characters for the big screen. They're more open to showing these big characters on Disney Plus format. So I think this has been a very good test with Mandalorian, and it seems like a successful test to happen. And I mean, I'm fully confident it's just going to keep getting bigger, like in terms of who's showing up. Maybe not necessarily in this show. I do think that there's a lot more surprises for the whole series, however many seasons it's going to be. But we're getting Obi-Wan, and there's also announcements with that. But I think it's literally just the beginning of all they're going to put on Disney Plus only, without a theatrical release behind it.
I totally agree. And I think, I watched a piece of Bob Iger's announcement part, and his main focus was, look, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. We're not rushing, and we're looking at everything we're making. It's like a feature film. I mean, everything on Disney Plus is made like a feature film. And then if you saw, kind of jumping ahead, but if you saw the Cassian reel, they talk about it in there. Like, everything we're doing is movie quality. It's not like we're skimming anywhere. We're creating big sets. So I think that's the takeaway from The Mandalorian for sure. Is I think it's got that movie element, and like you said, they're not trying to separate it from the films. It's like it's what could happen in the films could happen in a Disney Plus series, I think, and that's great to hear, for one.
Yeah, I think, and part of the reason why I'm maybe if you talked about this like a year or two ago, I would probably be more less inclined to say that movies and television should intertwine more. But with everything that happened with the DC universe on CW, it's like how now their DC as a whole is talking about the multiverse. It's like, of course, this is the best way to tell these stories, is to make everything, or allow everything to be intertwined.
Yes.
Books, movies, television. Don't be afraid to you shouldn't necessarily be afraid that you're going to lose an audience if you bring, or you won't gain an audience if you bring Cobb Vanth into a show. If he, I would be totally okay if, let's just say, out of the blue, they said Cobb Vanth's going to get his own television show. Crazy idea. I would say, well, if there's a good story, why not? Who cares that he's an unknown character that was shown in a book? It's like, I think that fear is gone, and vice versa. Big characters coming into smaller formats like Boba Fett, or even larger, maybe, an OG character, a legacy character coming in. So,
and that's my next point is, do you still feel like and who is that Jedi that could
have answer the call? He's going to pick up the phone.
Heard the call. Yeah.
Well, lately I've been thinking, because we haven't said this in our chats, in our text chat. Lately I've been thinking too, who's to say it's not a dark side user to answer the call as well?
Well, that's a good point, because Martin asked me that on the other show, and the way I answered that was that I feel like what Grogu was doing could only be sensed by the light side.
Sure. And that's an easy way to explain it.
It's not to say that they can't, the dark side can't, but it seemed like a light side type.
Yeah. You're on a Jedi temple, you're on this scene. Absolutely. The reason I was thinking of that is because, people were calling to attention so much of his dark side-ish abilities.
Yes.
What if he was reaching out in anger, trying to make this call, that kind of a thing. But for sure, I'm betting on a Jedi to answer it. My huge hope was Luke Skywalker. I've said before, like, don't be afraid to show Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. But, I keep thinking, like, it would also make a lot of sense, for Mace Windu. I know he's another fan favorite to show up, but I'm changing my mind on that now, because I was really leaning towards Mace with the fact that they are going to make a Boba Fett show, and Mace Windu would be a good character for that show, because it's Boba Fett and Mace, that connection between them two.
Wow,
Mace killed his father, and there could be something cool there. But I'm now less inclined to think there's a Boba Fett show. So, anyways, but maybe I still think Luke is top of my list, probably just because I really want to see it. But perhaps now I'm thinking maybe more realistically, I'm kind of leaning more towards Cal Kestis, to be honest.
Wow, really? Okay.
There's a couple of very nitpicky reasons why. For one, I think he's a relatively unknown character. You can't bank on everybody knowing who he is purely from the video game. So another cool character, relatively unknown. He's definitely hanging around. I think that would be cool. Another reason is I love seeing when Grogu was doing his little force call, meditative, and the whole beam that he was creating there. Mm-hmm. I love seeing the whatever alphabet that is. I don't know if it's canonically been called something, but like the Jedi alphabet or whatever it is. I don't know. It was on Fallen Order marketing. You saw like the stone on Jedi Fallen Order
It's
poster
not
with the
Arabic,
alphabet.
right?
I mean, unless it's a version of Arabesh, they're to me very different characters, like more like narrow, elongated, square characters. It looks close because I know there's a Mandalorian alphabet out there somewhere. So, and then this looks similar to that, but I was like, oh, that's the Fallen Order, alphabet. So, and then I'll just go ahead and say it. The Ahsoka show poster has the same design, same alphabet. And I was thinking, like, okay, wouldn't it be awesome if that's somewhat of an Easter egg foreshadow? It's like if you know the connection, Cal Kestis will make the call or make the answer, whatever, respond, and then it could somehow lead to Cal being in the Ahsoka show as well with Ahsoka.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm making it's very much of a stretch of a connection, but I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think Cal. That's interesting about Cal because there is a huge gap there.
Yeah,
as far as time goes,
and hopefully more games with him.
Yes, definitely
to
more
complete
games.
that story.
I still think it's going to be Luke. I still think the door that they've opened again with Boba Fett.
Yeah,
I mean, if they can bring Luke back, I think people. I just think that would. Now, the question is obviously if you do that, which way do you do that? Right? Do you do Mark Hamill and de-age him, or do you do a younger person and put Mark's face on there, or do you actually just recast it?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm actually at this point. I'm almost to the point where it doesn't matter to me. If you bring him back, you bring him back. And the only question I have is, and I mentioned this before, but like if it's somebody else, like a Sebastian Stan or somebody that looks like, I think you just lose that part of the reveal because some people that aren't familiar with Luke Skywalker, and there's some people that aren't, right? Like, for example, my wife knows who Luke Skywalker is. But if Sebastian Stan turned around and took his hood off, she wouldn't right away get that that's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that part I think you lose a little bit of. But I can get over that easily. I mean, I think it's about the character. Now, I would probably, if I had to rank it, I would put the Tarkin effect first. I would put Mark's face on somebody else's body.
Mm-hmm.
I would then do the de-aging of Mark somehow, and then I would do the new cast member. But
and look, there's a precedent of recasting major characters with Solo, even though there's a larger time difference there.
Yes,
but it's just we have to let go. Using Kyle's words, we have to let go a little bit because it's like you said. There's new, not necessarily. Like Brooke, who grew up in the era of Star Wars, original Star Wars, but like newer fans, who Mandalorian is their first introduction to Star Wars. And so therefore, maybe they've never seen, seeing Luke, if it's Sebastian Stan for the first time, that is their Luke, which I think they have every right to own that era of Luke Skywalker, a different look. It's like Solo, for instance. If Solo was the first movie a kid saw of Star Wars, that's his era Han Solo, or her era Han Solo. That's Harrison Ford would whatever. But so that's saying that. I mean, to say why not recast him with a very strong lookalike, and then I think that's fine. I would have to get over. I think I can easily make a jump to see that. Because what if they do that with the other characters and they bring in, let's just say they bring in Alden Ehrenreich again in this era as Han Solo.
That's
And
actually
they
a good idea. That's
and
actually
they
not a bad idea.
and they bring Carrie Fisher's daughter to be Leia, even though she played Connix, but still, anyways, someone who looks like Carrie Fisher.
But she played
in this
Leia.
era.
She did play Leia.
Yeah, that's right. But
In the flashback.
with the face. So, anyways, I think the whole theme of this is just why not? I think you can.
Yeah.
I think you can do it, and it'll be received well. You would lose, some of those fans that are so clung to the original look and style, which is fine. I mean, I think that's fine. I think those people, we've said this on the show before. Whatever your version of Star Wars is, own that.
Yeah.
But someone else has their version. That's fine.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of
so I'll throw out one other name that just kind of popped in my head, and I don't think this is valid, but it might eventually pop up. But because of really the Dark Troopers, it could seem like Favreau and Filoni are looking at material, right?
Sure,
they're looking at
absolutely.
canon material, or I'm sorry, EU material, Legends material, and saying like, okay, what can we bring in and reintroduce that fans will remember? I think that I'm less inclined to say Mara Jade would ever show up, just because Mara was actually Luke's wife, right?
There's a lot of story that you would either force its way into the universe or completely ignore.
Yes, and I think you'd have to completely ignore and rewrite that character in a way that is not associated with Luke. So
yeah, almost like all her history could probably live, like the Emperor's Hand side could probably stick around, but not the future.
Right. So could someone like Mara Jade be response here? Or I don't know fully his past, but I know he was a former Jedi, but Kyle Katarn is a big Legends character.
Yeah.
That could come back somehow or be, I don't know. I doubt it, but again, they're pulling from Legends. It feels like so much that I think, of course they mentioned Thrawn in this. Yeah. I'm sorry, this was last week Ahsoka's episode, but Thrawn, of course, big Legends character that was in animated form and in publications, and now seems like he's gonna make a live action debut at some point. So I just think there's no, and like we're saying right now, there is the future of Star Wars right now seems like it's focused on Disney Plus. There are some movies coming, which we'll talk about, but not as often as we think. And I mean, if you really look at this, I was texting with a listener on actually just tonight, and he asked, how is this are we going to get saturated? How soon? I actually feel like all these things that we're about to talk about, I think we're talking about 5 to 10 years. I think this is going to be a long rollout. I don't think this is all going to just start landing at once, which we can talk about and speculate. But, some of this stuff still seems in development. It's, I mean, they're not even to the casting point at some of these probably. So, we're going to get some of these rolling out. I mean, it might be 2 or 3 years before we get some of this stuff. So, but could it seem like it's overwhelming? But I think in 5 years from now, you're going to be able to go to Disney Plus and there's just going to be a mess of content, mess of shows to watch. I mean, it's crazy. So let's get into that right now. Well, I mean, is there anything else on the chapter 14 that, I mean, what do you think that all these next 2 episodes are going to be?
My goodness. That's the thing is, now that we've already gotten to the seeing rock part, like now it's like I fully expect a Jedi to answer, and we see. I don't think it's Ahsoka. I know that's another one of the ones that answers out there. I think it's going to be a big surprise at who that is, but I think it'll happen this season.
You do? You think it'll happen this season?
I think I think everything's on the table. I think that can happen, and then. My gosh, man! we talked about Thrawn. Like with Thrawn, or we did it in our sideshow on YouTube. But if Ezra would where's Ezra in all this, and then would Thrawn show up as well? I would not be surprised. I'm going back to what I said in that. I wouldn't be surprised if Thrawn makes somewhat of an appearance in this, if they move the story a little faster to tease that a little more. Maybe even Ezra, but anyways, but I do think you kind of hit it on earlier. I do think that the story of this season will wrap up, which is, I think Grogu will come back. That's the mission now, save Grogu. And I guess if they can defeat Gideon, I don't necessarily think Gideon will be just killed, but I think it's whatever is the current plan. So if it's to create these super force user, if it's to give it to Gideon, whatever it is, they're going to stop that. They're going to save Grogu, and that part will be over, and then Gideon will retreat or something, and then a new scheme will start for next season. Yeah. So I just can't imagine. The next 2 episodes, it's got to be like going after Grogu, and then maybe rescuing Grogu at the end of next episode, and then the last episode is just defeating whatever the plan is with Gideon and getting this essence. I guess they probably have extracted it. Now it's what are they doing with it and stop them.
Yeah. He's got a nice crew going with him. It seems like he's got Cara, he's got Boba, he's got Fennec, he's got Mayfield that looks like it's going to come back this next episode.
That's funny.
I mean, and I guess Grief's going to go. I don't know, but
probably, and we'll probably see. I bet we'll see those Rebel pilots again.
Yeah, the Rebel pilots, and then maybe a Jedi. Maybe a Jedi shows up. It's like
another one. Yeah,
he's got a little army that he's going after. So that's going to be a lot of action. I think it's going to be a lot of crazy things these next 2 episodes. So,
for sure.
Only 2 more episodes left. Tomorrow, December 11th, and then the finale on the 18th. And we will talk about it. Go check out, obviously, the Mandalorian podcast, where I'm on there with Martin Donison. We break it down pretty in depth, I say, because our shows have been long, but lots of content to talk about there. So let's talk about, this incredible announcement at the Walt Disney Company's investor event. So, it's been kind of teased throughout social media, and I even saw Martin. Oh gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Lucas Story Group. Martin, you know what I'm talking about.
Now you've got me blanking.
Yeah, I know.
It's late.
It is late. But I saw him retweet saying, you need to tune in, basically.
Yep.
So I remember that was coming up, and I was like, okay, so Matt Martin. You're right when you said it, Matt Martin. Yeah. So thanks, Matt. I definitely tuned in. And like I said, I was at this movie premieres thing, so it took me a while to really dive into it. But we're going to go through every Lucasfilm announcement right now. And the first one, I got to say, I think this is probably one of the best announcements I've ever watched, and that was the Patty Jenkins announcement. Now, again, maybe people knew about this. This came out of nowhere for me. I had no idea Patty Jenkins was making a movie.
No, I think that Patty Jenkins was definitely on the short list of directors that I wanted to see do a Star Wars movie. I know a lot of people did as well. I did not expect her to be the next film to be released.
But so that is the next film, right?
That's the impression I'm getting, right? I can't remember if they specifically say it.
Yeah, I think that's the impression I'm getting.
They gave the year, right? 2023.
They did, meaning that the 2022 then is not going to happen, because that was the previous announcement.
Right. Yeah, I think everything definitely got pushed. So like her doing the next movie was a big surprise. And then just, what it seemingly is about is also a big surprise.
Yeah. So what it's about It's a story that will introduce a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings and risk their lives in a boundary-pushing, high-speed thrill ride and move the saga, is the key line, and move the saga into the future era of the galaxy. This movie called Rogue Squadron, and it is dropping in Christmas of 2023. Now, that line right there, because someone on our group has asked, when does this take place in the timeline? To me, that line means that it's after episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you think?
That's my hope.
Yeah.
Because when I first read the title, first I was excited, like, oh, cool. I love Rogue Squadron. The video game is awesome. But then I'm thinking, like, oh, daggone, are they doing a Empire era movie about Rogue Squadron, like with Wedge, which would be cool, but like for real? That's what you're using Patty Jenkins to tell a story in a small area, like. But yeah, hearing that specific line makes me really excited and hopeful that it's in the future. Obviously, Rogue Squadron is just a name. It can mean
yes.
It's
just survived and always been there.
It's just survived, absolutely. So
now because the logo, if you've seen the logo for it, it's got it's got Rogue Squadron in the squadron. It's got the X-wing looking there, and it doesn't look like the original trilogy X-wing. It looks like Poe Dameron's X-wing, the newer versions. That's what made me think, okay, we're talking about after episode 9, which I agree with you. I hope it's that.
Mm-hmm.
But she's been working on it, sounds like, and it's coming 2023. So probably shooting next year, I guess. So we'll definitely get that. Next thing is they talked about the Untitled Taika Waititi film. Now, he was already previously announced to be attached to development. Mm-hmm. They're just kind of reaffirming that, and it says it's a brand new Star Wars feature that's in development. And Kathleen Kennedy says, quote, Taika's approach to Star Wars will be fresh, unexpected, and unique. His enormous talent and sense of humor will ensure that audiences are in for an unforgettable ride. Mm-hmm. To me, it makes me sound like it's possibly setting up multiple films with him. Mm-hmm. Like I can't imagine unforgettable. I can't imagine that Unforgettable Ride is only one movie.
Yeah, all the announcements. There's a few that use vague language like that, like a new adventure, a special event, or
yes,
in this case as well. It's like, yeah, I definitely think it's unsure, and also I don't think it's a theatrical thing. I think it could very well be because they didn't say theatrical, which makes me think they're unsure. Maybe either they're unsure if they're going to put it in theaters or they're going to put it on Disney Plus. I think it's just Disney Plus. So. Yeah, that's what makes you think.
Yeah, that's a good point because of all the other announcements we're about to do, it seems like they're all series based now for Disney Plus.
Yeah,
they're not. Why wouldn't they commit to do a movie for Disney Plus? You're right. Yeah. Right. So I agree with that. That could be the thing because you're telling us that Rogue Squadron's hitting theaters, but you haven't said anything about Taika's movie hitting theaters. So. Mm-hmm. It's a very good bet that it could be.
And I hate to think about it, but it's like hearing how they describe his movie or whatever it is, series of movies. It's like that. I feel like that would be along the same lines as a Lord and Miller film. It's like Solo, what that might have been.
Might have been, yeah.
Obviously, we still don't know the full story, but I'm just like that. Knowing their comedic style. In their films, it's like they would have definitely been a different Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. So it makes me sad that they're not going to get a chance to do that. But I'm very excited for because I mean, gosh, he's the best. So he's killing it. So he's be great.
So before we get into these series-based shows for Disney Plus, we can't. I think we'd be remiss in mentioning that. Those are the only 2 films that were mentioned, meaning that is this is it safe to say now that we are not going to get a Rian Johnson film or anything from Rian Johnson?
I still think it's very possible because
You do.
I'm not sure what he's working on right now. It's so
I
it's so weird.
I haven't checked his Twitter. Maybe I'm going to check his Twitter right now because
his Twitter it's probably just. Yeah, I would like it to see him just tweet like a hand raise emoji, be like, "I'm still here, I'm still making it." They didn't say it, but I'm still doing it. I have to think that they're still allowing him to do something. I mean, it'd probably be a Disney Plus deal, but
he had to have been working a while. I mean, he's been working since episode 8.
I think he's definitely got some stuff, going. But I just can't see that Disney would take that away from him purely on the feedback of Last Jedi, because it's still a very loved movie. And it's, just like the whole trilogy, it's a very divisive film. Just like the trilogy is very divisive. So I can't see them. Maybe they're just waiting time, just like how we talked about if Mandalorian. We'll talk about First Order. Maybe they're allowing time to be separated from the sequel trilogy before they really connect these other properties, or even use filmmakers from that, like Rian Johnson. So I'm hopeful that he'll still be able to make his stuff, because I would love to see it. I want to see what his original stories are.
Original stories, absolutely, yeah. So doesn't seem like there's anything there yet, but as of right now, right now we only know of one movie coming, and come 2023, it will have been 4 years since the last movie had dropped. That's a long way from getting a movie every year, from all of a sudden going to 4 years.
I would like it if that means if 4 years is the precedence between, like, let's say trilogies. I'm fine with that.
What do you mean? 3 movies every?
Like, we have 3 movies that are every other year, but then once that trilogy ends, you wait 4 years before the next trilogy starts.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But obviously, I want movies every single year. But
yeah, totally. So
I think we'll get that with Disney Plus.
Yeah, Disney Plus is definitely going to fill in the gaps either way. So
yeah.
So let's talk about that. Of course, announced again, reassured, but it is now the full title of the Obi-Wan series, and it is Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it's not just Obi-Wan, it's not just Kenobi, it is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And the title was revealed. Of course, the big announcement, though, was that Hayden Christensen is now coming back for the series. But here's the key to this. See, this is another twist of words here that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Here's the line. This will truly be a day long remembered, as it was confirmed that Hayden Christensen will be returning not as Anakin Skywalker, but as Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Quote from Kathleen Kennedy, "This will be the rematch of the century."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so...
Did you read... But Hayden's quotes later also...
Hayden's quotes in it later. Okay, so Hayden says, "It was such an incredible journey playing Anakin Skywalker," said Christensen. "Of course, Anakin and Obi-Wan weren't on the greatest of terms when we last saw them. It will be interesting to see what an amazing director like Deborah Chow has in store for us all. I'm excited to work with you, and again, it feels good to be back."
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a little less revealing than Kathleen's comment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been speculated ever since that these rumors have been kicking around that Hayden is going to come back in flashbacks of the Clone Wars, possibly even bring in Ahsoka again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would be incredible.
Sure.
Now, this says also that it does take place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So we're 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, 9 years prior to A New Hope. Now, if I remember correctly, 10 years is roughly around the time Solo happens as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's 10 years before, so it might be a year before this.
Maybe.
I think it's 10 years before New Hope, so whatever. Yeah. Around the same time, though.
Sure.
But him coming back as Darth Vader, though. So, in rematch of this, does this mean that Obi-Wan is going to fight Darth Vader 10 years after Return of the Jedi?
It's like that and Hayden's line about working with Ewan again. So it's like they're definitely sharing scenes together.
Yes.
I would say. But if it's a fight, or I mean, you read Kathleen's thing and think, okay, they're going to fight again. Everybody's going to jump on board with that. But I had to watch the Obi-Wan Vader fight in A New Hope to, to see what they said to each other. Like, there's the line in Vader. It's like he talks about how the last time, or when I left you, or whatever, I was but the learner. Now I'm the master.
Yes.
It's just like you're. If they fight in this show, I immediately think that's a contradiction to A New Hope. I feel like they should not be fighting. They should be fighting, but again, it's you can fudge it, you can stretch it, and still make sense in some way, sure. But so we'll see. If it's going to be a good story, I'm all for it. I do hope that they try to make sense of that, because it will be a contradiction if they fight. Unless it's purely you take that line and purely think it's just a mindset of Vader. Like if he fights Obi-Wan in this show and he loses against Obi-Wan, in his head he's still a learner in that regard, because he hasn't beaten him yet. It's left so about literally his role in Revenge of the Sith, as he was the apprentice, somewhat the apprentice still, which makes more sense. But if they do it here, to me, you have to connect the dots.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is going to be hard to explain that line. I think that it's possible that when Vader and Tarkin are talking, remember, and it gets brought up about Obi-Wan, and Tarkin's like, surely he's dead by now.
Yeah, that's less of a problem for me. But
that is less of a problem, because I think at that point, almost to me, Vader feels like Vader fought him, and possibly he thought he had killed him.
That's true. Yeah. Now it's a huge, bigger problem. Everything. Yeah. No, I totally.
Because in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan walks away thinking that he's dying, he's dead.
Yeah.
At some point, and I think we've talked about this a lot, at what point in the timeline does Obi-Wan actually realize that he has survived?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess as soon as he hears Vader's name, because he knows he took the name Vader.
Yeah.
So as soon as he finds out at some point that Vader's alive, he understands that he survived. Now, that's where I think I think Vader, and I think even Emperor, I think they know that Obi-Wan is possibly alive out there, because he is on that list of possible surviving Jedi, along with Yoda and Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. So Vader somehow does, I feel like in this could be Vader does track him down. And I mean, of course, look, I want to see them fight.
Yeah.
I mean, just think, and especially if Hayden's in the outfit.
Yeah.
If we get anything like we did in Mustafar, I mean, come on. Yeah. Why wouldn't we want to see that? Mm-hmm. But yes, what does that mean for A New Hope? I mean, that line just, I don't know. Like you said, it could be just a mindset thing.
But you're right about still even the context with Tarkin and Vader. It's just either they're going to try to make it work, or they're just not going to worry about it, and we'll just have to live with it, and that's fine. We'll just live with it, obviously. But
yeah, I mean, you could twist it in a sense that he's referring to the dark side, right?
Sure.
I've been learning the dark side.
Yeah.
And when I last met you, I was only the learner, but now I'm the master of it.
You have a line in this show about that.
Yes.
Make sense. You still have a lot to learn about the dark side.
See, we're solving the problem right now. So they can take that. They can use that.
Yeah.
Now this, like you said, words, like you said, describing these things, it is recognizing this as a special event series on Disney Plus, meaning it is, I'm assuming it's going to be a one-off. I think we've talked about it. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but and I'm surprised they don't mention it here, but I felt like we heard it's 6 episodes possibly. So somewhere in that 4 to 6 range, I feel like it's going to happen. So this is just a limited special event series that's going to be coming, and I cannot wait. Doesn't give a year. They does start shooting in March. I'm assuming at some point mid 2022 probably is where we're going to get this thing. Maybe even early 2022. We'll see. But stoked about Hayden.
Absolutely.
I think he's one of those guys that have taken a lot of hits, but I think people are appreciating him coming back. Okay, so what we all feel like we suspected has come to fruition, which is Star Wars Ahsoka. The long-awaited live-action debut, which happened in The Mandalorian. Ahsoka Tano is getting her own story, written by Filoni, that will continue in a limited series. So doesn't seem like it's going to be an ongoing, but a limited series starring Rosario Dawson and executive produced by Filoni and Favreau. Now, again, so this is going to actually start, which I think we'll talk about as we get into the next thing. This sounds like it's starting the whole Favreau-Filoni verse.
Right.
That's tied together, could have some cross storylines happening. But Ahsoka seems like it's just going to be going down. I feel like it's going to be going down that Thrawn storyline that was introduced.
That would be great. I think that'd be great. All these rumors about the Rebel sequel show, essentially, this seems like it could very well. I mean, it is surprising that if it is a Rebel sequel show, that it seems like it's purely about Ahsoka because it's her name's the title. So that would be a shift in main characters. Obviously, Rebels was about Ezra was the main character, but now it seems like the main character will be Ahsoka. So if Ezra's in it, if Sabine, all these other characters are in it, they're all playing now second fiddle to Ahsoka, which is fine. It's just to me, it is an interesting change. If this is truly like a Rebels sequel show, but no, I definitely hope it is that story continuing. This would be the first live action appearance of Thrawn, which would be, again, another thing everybody's been waiting for forever. So that would be great. I do think it's definitely progressing. And again, I love the image of the poster. 2 things. I saw that alphabet that was from Fallen Order, and also all the designs inside. To me, that looks a lot like World Between Worlds type of stuff.
Was thinking that. I really was just thinking that.
So for a moment, I was thinking, this show is going to be about the stuff leading up to Mandalorian, because she's fresh out of World Between Worlds and she's trying to make sense of her new reality, essentially her new world. But after reading that synopsis, it does definitely seem like it's taken off where we just saw her, Rosario Dawson, and going forward. But I definitely still hope it taps into that side of Star Wars, because if it's Filoni's writing it, again, he's going to pull from his own stuff. He's going to kind of continue the stories that he hasn't told yet. He hasn't gotten to tell through Clone Wars and through Rebels, which is a lot about this Force. I would love to see the World Between Worlds talking about, the Mortis, like the ones, because all of that's connected, which could have a place in the Thrawn story. So, oh gosh, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. But it does say, now it doesn't say in the article, but I have the Twitter up as well, because the Twitter kind of worded things a little differently. Now on Twitter, Star Wars wrote a new original series starring Rosario Dawson and set within the timeline of The Mandalorian. Yeah. So it's not like it's going to be taken, unless the World Between Worlds starts time jumping. which is possible.
Or the show just kind of overlaps. Maybe there's a little bit of backstory. You give some backstory for Ahsoka. So I mean, there's a little bit of how she got to where we saw her, and then maybe a little overlap. But but the bulk of the show, I would think, moves on.
Yes, forward. I think so too. So Ahsoka definitely coming. Excited about that. The next series announced, which was again in the same vein and timeline as The Mandalorian. Now this was another unbelievable surprise. Rangers of the New Republic.
I love that title.
Yeah. So set within the timeline of The Mandalorian, this new live action series from executive producers Favreau and Filoni will intersect. See, again, words that we should dissect here. Intersect with future stories and culminate into a climactic story event. So this is Avengers type materials what we're talking about here. Sounds like
it.
Now, what on earth is that?
I think this is definitely hitting those rumors that we've heard about those shows, like you said, the universe where the shows are connecting, and they could kind of lead up to something. You know, when I first saw the title, I thought of those pilots that we've been seeing this season. I don't think Filoni's going to be a starring role in this show, but the other pilot, who is a Canadian actor, I think it very well could be him, part of his character in the show, because even though he talked about in this season about something's happening, you know, I've been trying to get the New Republic to listen to me. We all think he's talking about Gideon, which he probably is, but I would think it still is about him possibly. And this could spawn from this season of Mandalorian, like something larger stumbles out of the conflicts that we're seeing now, and this pilot or these pilots, these Rangers, are going to discover it, and I guess it could tie into Ahsoka. Maybe it's all. I mean, it feels a little unprecedented, but it could very well be the Thrawn story. It's just the Thrawn story covers both of these shows, Ahsoka and the Rangers.
So that's interesting you said, because I when I first saw that, I did think about the pilots, but then I thought, as I look at it more, I'm like, well, wait a minute, it doesn't say anything about pilots, and wouldn't it be pilots of the New Republic? So then I thought, okay, well, wait a minute, what's a Ranger? Now, Rangers in our world are
like Texas Ranger,
they're ground soldiers. Right? They're, I don't know, and forgive me that I don't know this, but I don't think they're a rank. I think it's a group of, like, Army Rangers, right? Are a certain group in the Army. So I actually started thinking, well, wait a minute, I don't think she was dubbed a Ranger, but what did Cara accept to be with that badge?
The Marshal, yeah.
Yeah, I guess she's a marshal or something like that. But I started thinking of maybe it's a whole nother group that we haven't met yet, that are soldiers of the New Republic. So I'm not totally sold that it's the pilots that were introduced. I'm thinking it could be a whole nother group of people that maybe get introduced in these next couple episodes or next season or something like that, right? Because this is probably in early development still. But so I'm with you a little bit, but I don't know if it's because like you said, all the pilots we've seen besides the one were just cameo from the directors.
Yeah.
I feel like they would get some bigger named characters, and names and stuff like that. And so, Rangers sounds like a whole group of new soldiers. So anyway,
that could be cool. And to think of what that big event is, my bets would be Thrawn, just because he's such a big villain that we have yet to see become a big villain, even though he was in Rebels, but like galaxy wide possibly. that would be cool.
Yes, that would be cool.
Or just Chiss in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so next, another surprise, but a brief line about it. It's everyone's favorite scoundrel, Lando Calrissian, will return in a brand new event series for Disney Plus. Justin Simeon, creator of the critically acclaimed Dear White People and a huge Star Wars fan, is developing the story. So, no announcement about Donald Glover returning. Not sure when this takes place. It's not saying. I gotta assume it's Donald Glover and it's around that time. But we were left hanging at the end of episode 9 with Billy D and Jaina. It seemed like that was a series.
I mean, who's to say this isn't like, and you made this reference, I think, last for something else, but it feels like an Arrow type thing. We get two stories. We get old and young Lando stories happening.
Which is what happened I think pretty much what happened in that book Last Shot.
Oh, right. That's right.
It was one era and then they flash back to a previous era.
You can bring back Alden and you can start to build up that era a little more.
That would be really cool. I would love that if they did that. Have Billy D, help Jana, help find whatever she's from, and maybe make that connection finally that's his daughter. Flashback to an earlier story with Lando, and Han. Oh man, that would be killer, man. So who knows? I
would like to see if they do that or anything with Donald Glover, that they could maybe jump where he still has the Falcon and L3 is with him, and then jump afterwards where Han has the Falcon, and they can bring back Han and Chewie and all that stuff. That would be pretty sweet.
Yes. Okay, so another one that we've already kind of what's that?
They keep coming.
I know.
One after another.
Another one that we've already known about that has already started shooting is Andor, but now we know the official title. So Star Wars Andor, and it's it's coming in 2022. No date yet, but it is created by Tony Gilroy. Diego Luna, reprising his role as Rebel spy Cassian Andor from Rogue One, will be joined by a fantastic cast that includes Stellan Skarsgård, Adrena Arjona, Fiona Shaw, Denise Goh, Kyle Soller, and Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma. Love it.
Yes, because this is the first Disney official announcement of her being in this, right? Everything else was like Hollywood Reporter,
speculation,
or like other news sources. So that's awesome.
Unfortunately, no announcement of Jimmy Smits, which is, I feel like he will show up though. He just won't be a regular, but he will show up. Production kicked off 3 weeks ago in London, so they are currently shooting that. You can go to Disney, or you can go to StarWars.com. You can check out the sizzle reel. That's some behind the scenes look. This is what we talked about earlier about them talking about like they're not skipping on this show, building huge sets. You can see some concept art. The show actually does look amazing.
Yeah.
Now this doesn't even mention. It doesn't. I don't see that it's mentioned whether or not. Obviously, how many? Oh no! You know what? In the sizzle reel, they did say it's 12 episodes.
Oh, okay.
This is 12 episodes. Crazy, but it's a limit. But I think it's just 12 episodes. That's it. So,
but in terms of timeline, how many years prior, to Rogue One, that's still unknown at this point.
Still unknown. It looks from the concept art that there are some younger scenes of him.
Yeah,
I think it stretches his entire life in a sense. I think we're going to see a lot of Andor's younger when he's younger. Because remember, he's been in this fight since he was 6 years old.
6 years old. Because there was those casting rumors of. Actually, I don't think it was a rumor. I think they were casting young kids. We heard this a while ago. And the thought was, yeah, we'll definitely see those flashbacks.
Yes. That's still I'm telling you, that's still one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
That I love that. And I just watched it over the weekend, actually, because Rogue One was on, I think, TNT. And now these days, whenever it's on, I want to watch it. But then I'm like, as soon as I see a commercial, I'm like, nah.
What is this? What is 2020?
So I put on the Disney Plus and I was watching Rogue One again. And man, when it gets to that scene, because, Galen has just been killed, Jin's, and he's like, so now the rebellion is new to you, real to you. It's like, I've been living this since I was 6 years old. And I love that when she goes, because I remember this moment in theater when she says, you can't talk your way around this. And I thought to myself, as soon as she said that in the theater, I was like, what makes her think that he has to? And he walks right by and goes, I don't have to. It was like, oh my God, he's completely right. Like, what is he? He doesn't have to talk his way out of that. He's been doing this for years. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm glad they decided to do this show. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so this one was a little bit interesting. They talked about the Leslie Heelan show. Now, that was officially announced, I think, over the summer, too, along with Taika, that Leslie Heelan is developing a show. So her show, and she's an Emmy Award-nominated creator from the mind-bending series Russian Doll. She brings a new Star Wars series to Disney Plus with The Acolyte. The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. So we are getting a live action series set in the High Republic era. Did you see that coming?
No, that was kind of one of my deep hopes of I hope they sooner rather than later do a High Republic show and not wait for the success or failure of what these books could be. Oh gosh, I'm so glad. Again, it's all my fears are just they're just going to do whatever they want. Just do whatever you want, and just don't. They're obviously not. They're obviously listening to me and not being cowards. So that's fantastic. But you think too. And I was just thinking just now about so the final days of the High Republic. Does that mean that we're going to be really close to the Phantom Menace? Is that literally what these eras are like? Is it considered High Republic? When does High Republic end?
Yes, that's the big question.
So it's I think that does mean we'll be close. I don't think we're going to be very close because I think we'll be relatively close to that.
Well, it almost sounds like to me that so at the beginning of the High Republic or whatever, or when we're dropped into the High Republic next month, when all these novels start coming out, these comics coming out, and we're dropped into the High Republic era, I think at this point, it's safe to say that the Jedi are at peace with the galaxy, and everybody's relying on them to be that peace and justice. And they are, one with the Force in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, things start happening. Evil starts rising, and maybe it's dark side related and stuff. I think it has to be at some point. It has to be. So maybe what I'm thinking is that at some point, maybe it's over a couple years or 3 years or so. At some point, the Jedi take a big hit, and something happens where they lose a lot as far as maybe not just in numbers, but just the mentality that my gosh, we're not doing something right.
Yeah, the status quo has to change.
Yeah, and it shifts into whatever the 100 or 2 years, 200 years still that happens prior to the Phantom Menace.
Because when you listen to it read Dooku Jedi Lost, at that point when Dooku is younger, he's unhappy with the council because of a lot of these things that we would think it's like whether the humanitarian efforts of the Jedi, whether or not they're going to intercede with Sereno or these other planets that need their help. When Sifo-Dyas gets these visions, it's like they're not listening, they're not doing all what they should be doing. It's like those kind of things. Like something's off kilter with the Jedi. We got a good glimpse of that with Master and Apprentice, with Dooku. It's like obviously the Council and the Order has these flaws that prevent them from truly being keepers of the peace and humanitarians. So I think that's right. I think there'll be some kind of status quo change that will force the Jedi to reevaluate how they behave in the galaxy. But I will say, hearing this description of this show about rising dark side makes me now think that we really won't get a huge dark side presence in the books that we're about to get. I don't think we're gonna, because we kept thinking maybe there's ancient Sith lords, so I now feel like if in those books, if the dark side is going to appear, it will be very isolated and not much of a widespread threat of potential dark side starting to come up. It's like maybe a little like a practicing dark side user here and there, maybe, but not a Sith necessarily. So now I'm thinking that's going to be held off for this show. Now, this show will definitely see the rise of that, which could be, who knows, Plagueis. It could be whoever it is in Leslie's show. So it's
yes, totally
a lot of cool possibilities.
And what a unique take, it being shadowy and emerging dark, mystery thriller. That's
sounds like it could be pretty
stretching. Stretching the limits here, but okay. So next thing is, of course, another show that's been previously announced, but now we got they don't call it a teaser; they call it a sizzle. But the Bad Batch. The series follows the elite experimental clones of the Bad Batch as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone War. Members of Bad Batch, a unique squad of clones who vary genetically from their brothers in the Clone Army, each possess a singular exceptional skill which makes them extraordinarily effective soldiers and a formidable crew. In the post-Clone War era, they will take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat and find new purpose. Now, of course, there's a shot of them. It's not just 4 of them. There's 5 of them now, because at the end of the Bad Batch story arc in the final season of Clone Wars, you add Echo to that group. Watching this sizzle, I thought it actually looked incredible. Visually, it looked exactly like the last season of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really excited about this because it was a wonder when this was taking place. And it seems like, which is great, you see in the sizzle, you actually see the Emperor repeating those lines. I mean, he's declaring it's Empire Day in a sense, right? So I don't know. I'm pretty excited about this one.
The trailer definitely got me excited. I think it was cut together very well with the music and everything. The whole trailer was just so high intensity, which gets you very excited. Like, it does seem like this show's going to be very action packed. And obviously Bad Batch to me were a hit. I'm very excited to see them again and give D. Bradley Baker more work, which is always great too. Yeah. He's also so. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how this show's what the direction this show's going to take. So I'm just along for the ride with this one. I mean, I love the era, so it's gonna. And I am kind of surprised, but not really, that the style seems very identical to Clone Wars, which it should be. I guess back in my mind, I kept thinking I wonder if it should at least maybe try to be a little different, because I just with history, each animated show has its own unique style. So I kept thinking maybe this one would have something a little more unique. But gosh, Clone Wars looked fantastic, especially this last season. So I'm all for it.
Yep. Yeah, I think because those guys already showed up in the Clone Wars, I feel like they just continue that.
Related to that show. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about this is Did you hear? I posted it. I posted it on the Facebook group. At the very end, during the title, did you notice there's a little bit of a lightsaber sound?
Oh, really? No,
Yes. There's a like a.
Yeah, nice.
I'm telling you, Filoni, right? I mean,
Yeah, sure.
he's gonna bring.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be possibly Ahsoka. Obviously, could still make an appearance in this.
Maybe this is where Cal can make his leap into television.
Vader.
I mean, Inquisitors for sure could definitely be
Inquisitors. Yep,
huge possibility. Yeah, there's no telling. I mean, there's
going to be lightsabers in it. I mean, it's just
because this is like you said, it overlaps Empire Day, and it's immediately after the Clone War. So you still have Jedi out there that haven't been hunted yet.
That's right.
So you could see several that the Bad Batch run into, try to help.
Yep.
That kind of
and you
thing.
still see a lot of clones, so it's interesting to know what the Empire does with the clones right away.
Yeah, yeah, that's always been my thing.
Does Order 66? Does Order 66 stay with them? Like, does that mean that they're just loyal to whatever the Emperor says and that's it? Or do they go back to like like Rex, where he's like, "What the heck just happened?"
Yeah, that would be very crazy if that happened. But I love that it's like when you do these, to call them prequel shows, I guess. But it's like these are new characters, so we don't know what's going to happen to them. The Bad Batch, they're not destined for anything in particular. But anyways, we know the state of the galaxy and where it's headed. But what I love for these type of shows to do is to answer those questions of like, how do the clones get phased out? How to create more of a canon filler of going from A to B. It's like, how does the galaxy change, and how does the Empire necessarily grow? That kind of a thing. So I love to see that, like how, like the clones, they start dying off. Are they aging and dying? So who knows?
Right. So that again, no announcement on when it's coming out, but it is. I'm assuming it's going to be dropping in 2021. I would say they got a whole season almost pretty much done, so it should be soon.
That's surprising, but they've already got a lot behind it.
Okay, so the last two announcements from Lucas for Star Wars. Again, two shows that kind of came out of nowhere. One called Star Wars Visions, and this is announced as presenting all new creative takes on the galaxy far, far away. Star Wars Visions will be a series of animated short films celebrating Star Wars through the lens of the world's best anime creators. The anthology collection will bring 10 fantastic visions from several of the leading Japanese anime studios, offering a fresh and diverse culture perspective to Star Wars. Pretty neat.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, getting like different styles of animation. Like, I'm very excited about that. I mean, to me, it's still a question if they're going to be canon or not. I hope they are. They could very well say they're not.
Imagine that they would be.
Yeah, I would say they would be. It's because I don't know if they. I was kind of thinking, is this going to be almost like the Marvel What If series, where it's like, or is this like Forces of Destiny, where it's just little snippets,
I think shorts, it's more like that. Yeah. I think it's more like that. But I think that this is a perfect opportunity because it's interesting that it talks about a fresh and diverse cultural perspective. Now, of course, cultural meaning that you've got Japanese studios working on this, but this does also mean that it's somewhat of a cultural perspective in Star Wars, meaning this is a good opportunity to actually go to even a different era in the galaxy, not just focus on the Skywalker saga timeline or even the new, maybe it is further away, like Old Republic, or maybe it's further down, in the future. I don't know. But, if you talk about, because every time, obviously for me, when I think of Japanese, I think of samurai, or I think, that type of era where, you have less technology and just sword fighting. And so what an interesting concept that if you went back all the way to the early days of the Jedi or something like that. You know?
I would love that era. That's really actually, in terms of bringing those old Republic stories into canon, that's what excites me most. And that's what I want to see is if you're going to do Old Republic, the only thing that seems to be interesting to me is Origins of the Force, Jedi Sith, and obviously it's Sith versus Jedi. But, we can get that in future movies. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the past, but the origins of all of this is hugely interesting.
Yes.
And so that'd be great if they did that. I'll say that's a good bet because I'm not sure if I leaned towards one. I guess I just assumed it would be kind of in this current era, which who knows? Current era storytelling.
I'm hoping it's not, but it probably is. But Visions, that's an interesting name for it. And then the last one is called A Droid Story. As Lucasfilm continues to develop new stories, the intersection of animation and visual effects offers new opportunities to explore. This is interesting. Lucasfilm Animation will be teaming up with Lucasfilm's visual effects team, Industrial Light and Magic, to develop a special Star Wars adventure for Disney+, A Droid Story. This epic journey will introduce us to a new hero guided by legendary duo R2-D2 and C-3PO. So I'm not sure what I understand from that. Why Lucasfilm and ILM are? Is it a live action plus animation? I don't.
Maybe it's maybe it's just a crazy mixed medium type of animated show because. Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's just safe to say, like, they're definitely making you think it's something that we have never seen before visually. Yes. So, gosh, who knows in that sense? But the story aspect of it, it's super vague. Again, that vague language of, is this a show or like a 45-minute TV special, or a movie, So who knows? I have no idea. It's almost like they just thought of this idea. Not to say it was rushed, but like just thought of this idea last week. Like, throw this announcement in there. But because it sounds exciting, and I just don't know if they even have details about what it is yet. Who knows? I mean, I guess I'm sure if they got all these departments already committed to each other, they've got to have some kind of conceptual.
I mean, the only reason I can even think of, and I don't know why they would do this, but so that's probably wrong, but it's like they're building an animated world, but ILM is there to incorporate like a live action version of R2 and C-3PO in it.
Roger Rabbit, which it's like, I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. Whatever it is, I'm sure I'm going to watch it, but and maybe it's pushing some boundaries again, but
the only thing I could think of is the technology aspect. Like, what if it's it says Disney Plus, so you think show or movie, but otherwise I was thinking, is this going to be like a crazy VR experience? But again, if it's Disney Plus, I'm not sure.
Plus,
like maybe you could only watch this with the Disney Plus app installed on your Quest. I don't know.
That would be good.
Weird.
Yeah. So that's all the Star Wars. That's all the Star Wars news.
Yeah. That's all we got.
Now, Lucasfilm, just to throw this out there, Lucasfilm also announced that Indiana Jones is getting made.
Yeah, man.
By James Mangold, who is associated with the Boba Fett possibly project. But he is now doing Indiana Jones, which Harrison Ford will be back. That actually shoots late 2021 and arrives July 2022.
That's awesome. I'm so excited.
Hopefully, Indiana Jones isn't in a wheelchair at that point.
Harrison Ford definitely needs to be careful.
Yes. Another announcement to Disney Plus is Willow. Warwick Davis is returning to the role of Willow, and John Chu, director of Crazy Rich Asians, is directing the pilot. That begins shooting next March and will debut in 2022 on Disney Plus. And then there's an adaptation from a children's novel called Children of Blood and Bone. that is going to be partnering with 20th Century Fox to make that film. So, man, and that is just Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Go to the Walt Disney Company or Disney.com, whatever, to follow up on all the stuff coming from Marvel, from Disney, Pixar.
Trailers. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't even watched any of the Marvel stuff yet. Yeah. So, have you watched any of that stuff?
Just the WandaVision. And the Falcon Winter Soldier show. I haven't seen the Loki trailer yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of that, so I got to read up on that. But man, that's a lot to digest, and we have just begun scratching the surface of these things as they start rolling out. Incredible announcement.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, like the only other thing besides Rian Johnson that wasn't mentioned was the possibility of Kevin Feige involved with Star Wars.
True, you're right.
Which I guess was
not to say that he's not involved in any of this stuff.
Sure, yeah, but like, if he was, why wouldn't you? For the investors' sake, why would you throw his name out there?
Yeah, true.
But anyways,
maybe that means they are handing this stuff over to Filoni.
Yeah, maybe
he can be. I mean, he's obviously overseeing Rangers, Ahsoka, Mandalorian. It doesn't sound like he's involved in Obi-Wan necessarily, but he's got several series that he's working on. So plus Bad Batch, I'm sure he's working on Bad Batch still.
Yeah.
So summing up, we got 2 official movies announced. One titled called Rogue Squadron. We've got Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Rangers, Lando, Andor, Acolyte, Bad Batch, and then Visions and Droid. I mean, that's 9 Disney Plus series, plus The Mandalorian that's still out there. That's 10 Disney Plus series based Star Wars content.
I mean, yeah, and like you said, Marvel, I think it was like 10 Marvel series, 15 Disney Pixar series.
Yeah, I mean,
there's just busloads of cash coming in.
I mean, and I know I've said this several times God, how long have we been doing this now? 6 years? You've been doing the show? 7 years? 7 years?
7 years.
I know I've said that look, we do this show because there's plenty of Star Wars stuff to talk about. My friend, I don't know if we can talk about all of this in one show in a week.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and again, this has nothing to do with the publishing side of all the stuff that's coming still in the novels and the comics. I mean, you're talking games. Games will probably start ramping up at some point. The VR stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it is incredible to be a Star Wars fan, and man, it's going to be fun to see all this stuff. So, and I will be just to kind of future proof ourselves here a little bit. We should probably try to do a show maybe earlier next week, because in 1 week's time I leave for Batu, and I will be at Batu Black Spire Outpost hanging out.
Going off world, huh?
Going off world for a couple days, yeah. So can't wait to get there and see what's happening there. I will actually be leaving the day the finale drops of
The
Mandalorian, so I'll have to watch it while I'm probably at the airport waiting to get on the plane. So anyway, everybody, if you haven't got a chance to, and I do fail to mention this, but please, if we actually have a Facebook group out there. If you search Facebook Inside the Force, please try to get in there. We can have these conversations. There's already conversations going on in there about all this new stuff coming out. Love the insight. Love everybody's reactions to it. Of course, follow us anywhere on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. We're at InsideTheForce.com. You can subscribe to the show. All your podcast feeds, as well as on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button. We've got some council sessions, which we're talking about some big questions. Casey and I had just done one about Ezra, where we asked the question, where is Ezra Bridger? Go watch that. We have some good insights on when we think he's going to show up in Star Wars again. And of course, we got the Beyond the Saga, where we do talk about the publishing side and the gaming side. Hannah Burr and I are tearing into a bunch of those things. We're really talking about the Vader comic series right now, the first one that came out, not the current one. But we are starting to talk about the Thrawn, the first Thrawn, not the Legends, but the first canon Thrawn trilogy that Timothy Zahn wrote. We're diving into those 3 books because he was mentioned, trying to get everybody excited about him showing up at some point. But we're also about to talk about, I got a new video from Beyond the Saga coming out talking about Jedi Fallen Order. Because again, the possibilities of Cal Kestis coming in. So look for that soon as well. Thanks everybody for joining us. This has been a great birthday. Thanks, Casey, for your insight.
Yeah, man. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, have a great week. Take care. Go dive in. Go check all this stuff out. And we will talk to you guys next week. For Casey Cooley.
See you later.
I'm David Cottingham. May the Force be with you.